If you had to choose between risking your own $50,000 or someone else's $50,000, which would you choose? The trading landscape in 2025 has changed drastically, with more prop firms, bigger discounts, huge scaling plans, and massive payouts, and the competition between all of the prop firms just keeps getting better and better. If you aren't quite sure which is better, if you should go the funded route or the personal route for your trading, then this video is for you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get it. All right, so to kick off this video, I want to start with making the case for the funded route. Me personally, I'm a fan of the funded route, and I will explain why as we continue on through this video. But just like it says here, the leverage without personal risk to your capital. If you think about it, you can trade several amount of contracts in the future space, anyways, without risking your own personal capital. And what I mean by that is like a simple account or evaluation, say you get funded, is going to cost you roughly 50 to 100 bucks. And then if you do lose that account, all you lose is that $100. But if it was a personal account, say you blew your account and you lost 3,000, that $3,000 can actually, that's actual cash gone versus the $100 that you risked, basically purchasing that evaluation or account and getting it funded. Now, there are many scaling opportunities. A lot of firms let you stack them, like there's Apex Trader Funding, where you can trade up to 20 accounts. There's Tradeify, where you trade up to 5 accounts. There's Top One Futures, where you trade up to 5 accounts. There's Top Step, will let you trade up to 5 accounts. Like you can stack many of them. Also, if you trade at any of those firms right there and you're wanting the best discount, use code ACT to get the best discount that you can get. Now let's continue on. So that's where you could stack them. And I will say Apex is a high risk, high reward type of firm, in my opinion, because they have the tightest rules. It is, I won't say the hardest to get funded. Honestly, I have no issue getting funded, but they have the tightest rules, and payouts can be denied if you break one of the rules. However, they're high reward. You could stack 20 accounts, and then a simple $200 day turns into a $4,000 day because you made $200 per account and you had 20 of them. And so there's also trade copiers where you can now sync all your accounts together across firms where you can trade up to like, I don't know, 50 accounts at one time. That's insane. I think I saw TradeSync allows up to 120 accounts. That's huge. And so the scalability and the leverage behind it all is substantial for the amount of risk that you put in to trade these funded accounts. And there is a psychological edge. And I talk about this quite often because, if you think about it this way, you may even experience this as a trader yourself. You learn to trade, you're like, you go to paper trading, you're like, man, I am the world's best trader. I am paper trading. I am kicking butt. Like I am hardly ever wrong. I'm making a large gains, small losses. Like everything's perfect, right? You're the world's perfect paper trader. You start to trade live, you start to you let your losers run too long. You're cutting your loser or your winners short. You're impulse trading. You're like nothing. You're just not trading as good as you were whenever you're paper trading. That's because psychologically, there's real money on the line. But when you do the prop firm route, you actually have like a psychological edge knowing that, hey, I'm not going to lose all my own cash. I'm just going to lose what cash I have in this account. And your own personal money isn't going to be touched. So to me, I think that is a huge psychological edge. And I think it actually will help a lot of traders. And then, so consistent traders can turn evaluations steady streams of income. You see it all over the internet. It's all over the place. If you're watching this video, you've probably already seen a million and one different funded trader videos from all of the different affiliates that are pushing out videos for affiliate fees and things like that. Um, yeah, like there's a lot of people making a living and making steady streams of income from trading these prop firms with having a little bit of the cash needing to be, um, I guess we'll say, stored or held hostage in your trading account to make it happen. So when I was talking about the downside of funded trading, so the downside of funded trading, there are rules. Every firm has its different rules. So before you go ahead and go down that route, make sure you understand the rules that you're getting involved with. Like you need to know what you're doing in terms of every firm has a different rule. Make sure you know which ones what your rules are. And so different rules, they have daily drawdowns, which in my opinion, like I don't overly view daily drawdowns, max loss limits, and consistency rules. Consistency rule, I will say, is a drawdown, but I understand why they have them. Because all the people that are trying to take advantage of this and just using it as a casino and aren't really trading and that will never make it to an actual live account, then there's no like they have to have a rule in place to prevent those type of people from just taking all the sim money. Because you got to remember, a firm's point in putting you through all these evaluations and giving you sim funding at first is eventually get you to the live funding side to where everyone benefits from your profitable trading. That's the end goal. So there has to be consistency rules. So I understand that. Max loss limit rules. I think like I know it's kind of labeled here as a restriction, but however, your trading plans need it, right? And if you're trading your own personal account, you should have those rules anyway. So maybe I should fix this slide whenever I created it. But at the same time, those are things your trading plan needs in order to survive. So they're not really like downsides, but I will say you don't have the flexibility of creating your own rules and max loss limits or whatever it may be because of whatever size you're using or what the firm is dictating. But you want the flexibility of choosing it to be the way you want it to be. Now, I can tell that the sun just went down a little bit behind a cloud. Got a little dark in here. All right, so the one that I really don't like the most is the no overnight freedom. A lot of them are just day trading, right? And which makes sense. The overnight margins requirements, and it's easy for people to want to YOLO it overnight, things like that. Um, However, Tradeify did just announce once you hit $100,000 in profit, you can start swing trading with them, which is a pretty cool thing if you ask me. However, you're gonna have to earn that ability to do that. And I think swing trading is the one thing that I don't like the most about it, but that's, that's the name of the game. Then that's you could have both. But the point is you can't play. Excuse me. You can't hold trades overnight, if I could spit it out right. However, so it's just day trades basically. Profit split, the 80-90% versus 100%. So that is true. So if 100% of your profits in your personal account is yours, and then most of these firms now are 80 to 90% profit split. So what exactly does that mean? Most firms, if you profit 20 or 80%, 20% of your profits are going to go to the firm, and 80% is going to go to you. I don't. That's just kind of like how it is now. But when I started trading for firms in 2016, man, my profit split started off at 70-30. So this 80, 20, 90, 10 thing to me is not that big of a deal. I started at 70% and had to work my way up with the firm that I started off at. But however, all these future firms, this is where they're starting you at. And to me, it's a small little thing to give up. But if we're talking about pros and cons, the downside is yes, you don't keep 100% of your profits. And there is an evaluation pressure. Like if you are trying to pass the challenge, there is a slight stress that you may not pass. You might have to do a reset and things like that. But there are ways around that, right? And while we're on here, if you're having a hard time passing evaluations or you're not quite sure what's working, down in the description box there is a link to my free funded trader. And do you know what? I want to roll this clip for you. If you want my free course on how exactly I get funded in 1 to 3 days, then click the link in the description. Inside, I'll walk you through everything that's actually worked for me, plus any of the unspoken concepts and some of the biggest myths around day trading futures that no one is talking about. All right, so now that you just went ahead and signed up for my free funded course, it's going to help you with that evaluation pressure and maybe give you some tips and tricks on to help you keep going in your journey if you're having a hard time. But these are the downsides of having a funded, or the downside of being a funded trader, I guess, is if you want to label it that way, or funded trading. But to me, it's actually not that big of a deal because wait till we get to the where we compare both, and then you're going to see which way I am leaning. All right, case for personal trading. You get full control. No ifs, ands, or buts. You have no restrictions. You set your own rules. However, the problem with that is, do you have your own rules? Can you follow your own rules? That is the key thing. But if we're just talking pros and cons between funded trading and personal, yes, you get to set your own rules. You get to do what you want, and it's up to you if you do it correctly or not. And yes, you do keep 100% of your profits, like we just talked about in the prior slide. 100% of the profits are yours. No profit split, um, and it's all yours. So yeah. And flexibility, like the ability to swing trade, overnight holds, position sizing, like everything, no restrictions. I mean, this whole thing might as well just say no restrictions, basically, because it's your personal account. However, that comes with some cons, which we'll talk about in the next slide. So you could do whatever you want. Basically, no restrictions. Do what you want. 100% yours. No evaluation hoops. You're not stuck passing evaluations. However, I will say Tradeify does have some straight to funded accounts, right? To get the best discount on those, use code ACT. Y'all like how I'm doing that? All right, so the downside of personal trading. All right, let's talk about the dark side of it. High capital requirement. This is where firms help most new traders out. And before I start, like if you think about the old small account route that people went back when options trading was a huge deal, right? That crazy how much that faded. Um, is that you would start with a small account and say you had $1,000. You put that $1,000 into an options account. You would trade that options account hoping to compound it over time. You pretty good chance you're gonna blow that account because it's $1,000. You're over leveraged and you blew it. It is what it is. However, like downside of personal accounts, like your high capital requirement, it may it needs to be significant in order for it to be meaningful. Basically, that's where prop firms actually come in and help you leverage yourself up quickly. But high capital requirement to the downside. Greater personal risk. Every loss is a loss of your cash. Like there is personal risk. Like so, every loss is actually a loss from you. If you take $1,000 loss, it is $1,000 loss from the cash that you have, versus a fake $1,000 in a funded account that you have with a firm. So there is that issue there as well. And just like I mentioned, it's like a slower scaling. If you're building from a small account, it's going to take time to compound it to where it gets huge or larger, right? So before it to get meaningful or even become like we'll say replace your 9 to 5 job, right? It's going to take time to get there, and your cash is tied up in an account. So one thing I preach and why I think it's a really good deal to be a firm trader of whatever aspect you wish to do it in is because even if you have a large amount of money, say you're not even the small account guy, you are a wealthy individual, you have a quarter million, you have $250,000. All right, cool. So do you take that $250,000, put it in your personal account, or do you trade a firm account? Me personally, I'm going to still be a funded trader. Why, Cody? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. So what I would going to do is I'm going to take that $250,000 and I'm going to purchase some real estate, or maybe even put it in. I mean, an options account would make sense. Maybe you just like sell covered calls and do a premium selling, like a slow burning type of trading strategy if you still want to trade. Or you could buy like tangible assets, like I said, like you buy some real estate, maybe flip some houses. So instead of having all that money tied up, you could actually let it work for you in another area of the world, bring in a steady stream of income while you still have your day trading stuff. So now you have two working for you instead of one, right? I think that's such a huge thing that most people don't think about. All right, so now, which is better for 2025? It should be better in all of your life, but who knows? Things are going to change, I'm sure. Oh, who knows where we're going to be in the next 5 years? Watch, the firm's going to come in. It's not going to be futures. It's going to be, God, who knows, right? But we'll see where we're at. But funded trading is often the best starting point for new traders. I think that is a great part for new traders. A great starting point is because low amount of risk. You can actually dip your toes in. You get to see how you're going to react with a little bit of risk, right? I think you need to have a little bit of skin in the game in order to um, feel how your emotions are going to be in the middle of trades because trades are going to go against you. And, it's just enough for you to feel it, but not lose yourself. And they know personal trading does shine once you've built consistency. You have excess amount of capital available for swing trading. I think it is awesome to have a day trading account and a swing trading account. And kind of like it says on the bottom bullet point there is where it says, your best hybrid approach is having funded accounts to generate consistent payouts. And then you take that capital and you can do it on long-term wealth building things like real estate and also like swing trading. Swing trading futures is a fantastic way to really make some large cash. However, you got to know how to do it correctly. But that's up for another discussion between you and I once I get there. But as you can see, I'm personally more of the funded trader route simply because you have more income options. However, that's me. Other people view it other ways. I just heard a trader the other day that's on social media saying how he thinks it's better to trade personal accounts. That's fine. I mean, if that's your jam, or his goal is to grow capital from firms and trade his own personal account. I mean, that's cool too. But I mean, like for me personally, I think the funded route is the best way to go, simply because you have multiple streams of income and you can diversify and then have two, like I said, two streams. Instead of cash just sitting in an account doing nothing for you, you could put them to work for you. So That's all I have for y'all. I hope you found this video helpful. Um, if you didn't already, like, follow, subscribe. Let me know what you're doing for 2025. Are you trading your personal account or are you trading a funded account? And also, I know you forgot, but go ahead and sign up for my free trader course that you haven't done yet. I know you're thinking about just go ahead and knock it out now. But you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.